France just pledged 100 of its top-tier Rafale fighter jets to Ukraine, but the initial price tag, I mean, we're talking over 22.5 billion euros. It really demands a serious look at who exactly is footing the bill.
And not just who, but when.
Right. And perhaps more importantly, when are these jets actually going to take flight?
That financial context is really the core mission of our deep dive today. We've all seen the headlines, but the ambition underneath them is just enormous.
It's huge.
Ukraine's stated goal is to build a massive 250 aircraft, fourth-gen plus fighter fleet. That includes the American F-16s, Swedish Gripens, and now these French Rafales.
So what we're really unpacking today is the political commitment versus the cold, hard fiscal and industrial reality.
Precisely. We're diving into these multi-billion euro financial obligations and looking at a critical shift in how Europe funds defense procurement. This isn't just an equipment story.
No, it's way more than that.
It's a financial and industrial story, and it's important to be clear up front. This announcement about the Rafales is what we'd call a declaration of intent.
So, not a signed contract.
Not a finalized purchase contract. It's a long-term political signal. A political gamble, really, on Ukraine's future. It offers, and this is key, no immediate battlefield advantage.
Okay, so let's start with the hardware itself. The big number is 100 Dassault Rafale jets. These are France's absolute premier multi-role warplanes.
And they're firmly in that fourth-gen plus category.
Which, for anyone unfamiliar, means they're twin-engine, highly capable platforms designed for more than just, winning dogfights.
Right, it's not just about air superiority. They're designed for deep interdiction.
Hitting high-value targets far behind enemy lines.
Exactly. And reconnaissance. If this acquisition happens, it would instantly elevate Ukraine's air combat capabilities to the highest Western standards.
And you have to talk about the specifics of the hardware to really get the expense right. The version being discussed is the Rafale F4.
The latest configuration. And this isn't just a standard jet. It has advanced systems that almost approach fifth-gen capabilities.
Like the radar system.
The AESA radar, yes. The Thales RBE-2 LAA active electronically scanned array. Plus the Spectra integrated defensive systems for electronic warfare. That's what really determines survivability in a modern contested airspace.
And this is just one piece of a much larger puzzle targeting 250 total aircraft. A trifecta of the F-16, the Gripen, and now the Rafale.
But the sheer scale of the financial obligation, that's where you hit the brakes. Hard.
Okay, so let's get into the sticker shock.
If you look at recent international sales, say, to Serbia or India, the acquisition price for 100 Rafales with just initial support and weapons is projected at a very conservative 22.5 billion euros.
Well, conservative.
Some sources suggest a full turnkey package, loaded with Meteor missiles and Scale LP cruise missiles, could easily push past 25 billion.
25 billion euros, just to get the planes and get them running, and we know that's just the tip of the iceberg.
That's the critical point that always gets lost in the headlines. Acquisition is typically just 1/3 of the total lifetime cost of a platform like this.
1/3. So what do the running costs look like?
The operational costs for a Rafale, we're talking fuel, maintenance, spare parts, are estimated around $31,200 per flight hour.
Per hour. For one plane.
For one plane. Now project that across a 100-jet fleet over a 40-year life cycle. The total commitment could easily surpass 50 billion euros.
50 billion euros. That's an astronomical figure. For a commitment that large, the funding has to be absolutely rock solid.
But it's anything but.
How so?
While Ukraine's economy, even in a best-case post-war scenario, simply cannot shoulder this, the financing plan relies almost entirely on external capital.
Specifically European Union programs. And this is the controversial part, right? The use of frozen Russian assets.
That's the really unstable foundation. The EU hasn't even fully agreed on the legal mechanism to mobilize the income from those assets, let alone the principle itself.
So there's a huge debate happening inside the EU.
A tremendous one. You have major legal hurdles, conflicting national interests on property rights. It makes the whole financial foundation questionable. It's an agreement that's waiting to happen, not cash in hand.
If the funding is that shaky, it really plays to a bigger question about the depth of commitment from Western partners. If we look past the big announcements, what does the actual fiscal data tell us?
The picture is pretty sobering when you measure it against national wealth. The Kiel Institute tracks this, and major European donors, France, Spain, Italy, they only allocate about 0.1% of their annual GDP to Ukraine aid.
0.1%.
And even the biggest donors, like Germany, the US, or the UK, they mobilize less than 0.2% of their GDP annually.
That's a fascinating contrast. On one side, a commitment to a 50 billion euro program, but on the other, the actual yearly aid is just tenths of a percent of their wealth.
It signals a lack of fiscal urgency. Through the lens of Western budgets, this level of aid looks, more like a manageable political pet project than an all-out effort.
And the source material compares it to what? Minor domestic subsidy programs?
Exactly. Privileges for diesel fuel or company car tax breaks. So the Rafale deal is really a very long-term political gamble, likely structured with French state-guaranteed export credits spread over 15 or 20 years.
Which brings us to the industrial challenge. This war has become a battle of procurement and military production.
It's driven a complete reversal in defense economics. Go back to 2022, and over 70% of military aid was coming from existing national stockpiles.
Right. They were emptying the warehouses.
Those warehouses are now largely empty. By 2024, the ratio has dramatically flipped. Now, at least two-thirds, 66% of military aid is coming directly from new procurements from the defense industry.
So we've shifted from sending old gear to paying factories to build new stuff. That seems to validate a deal like the Rafale.
It does, but the timeline for those factories to actually deliver is incredibly slow.
And that's the core problem.
That's the crux of it. Dassault Aviation already has a huge production backlog for its existing orders. It's estimated to stretch for 9 years.
9 years. Just to clear what they already have on the books.
That's right. So if you insert 100 new aircraft for Ukraine into that queue, you're spreading those deliveries over a full decade.
A full decade. We're talking deliveries stretching to 2035.
Yeah.
That seems totally contradictory to the immediate war effort.
It just underlines the strategic reality here. This is a program for modernization and long-term deterrence, not for the current conflict.
So when could we even see the first jets?
The absolute earliest we could expect to see even a few Rafales operational in theater is probably spring or summer of 2027.
So it's a cornerstone for a post-war Air Force.
A powerful one, yes. It guarantees capability for the 2030s and 2040s.
And in the meantime, Europe is trying to figure out how to streamline procurement for the current needs. We're seeing more collaboration.
Absolutely. Donors are moving toward these multilateral initiatives to pool their money. You've got the UK-led International Fund for Ukraine at 1.6 billion euros, and the Czech Ammunition Initiative, which is nearly 900 million.
And we've heard about the Danish model. What's noteworthy about that?
The Danish model is interesting. They've committed about 870 million euros to order weapons, like drones, directly from Ukrainian producers.
So it supports the local war economy.
It does, which is great for efficiency. But we have to keep it in perspective. Those foreign orders, placed with Ukrainian companies, are still marginal, less than 2% of total donor procurement. The vast majority of new systems are still being built in the West.
Okay, let's pivot to the operational side. Ukraine is going for this multi-platform fleet F-16, Gripen, Rafale. What's the strategic benefit of that diversity?
It offers two things: complementary capabilities and political diversification. The Rafale is your heavy twin-engine generalist, perfect for those deep strikes.
And the Gripen.
The Gripen is a smaller, single-engine interceptor. It's designed for rapid turnaround, reliability in rugged conditions, and it has lower operating costs. It's better for decentralized operations.
And what about the political side of it?
Politically, it creates anchors in Washington, Paris, and Stockholm. It's a hedge. If support from one country, say the US, drops off because of an election, your entire Air Force isn't grounded.
It spreads the risk.
It spreads the risk and puts pressure on multiple Western capitals to maintain support.
But that raises a huge question that brings us right back to the cost. What's the logistical overhead of trying to run three completely different, highly specialized, cutting-edge air forces at the same time?
The cost of that diversity is just extreme logistical complexity. It's a massive headache.
I can imagine.
You need completely separate supply chains for spare parts, different maintenance procedures, dedicated training pipelines for pilots and technicians for each platform. You're building 3 new infrastructures from scratch.
And all this is built on a 15-year timeline, which makes that political volatility you mentioned a massive risk factor.
A huge risk. This whole multi-billion-euro plan is a long-term gamble. It's betting that Western funding and support will stay perfectly stable until 2035.
And we've already seen that's not a safe bet.
Not at all. We saw how fragile it was during the aid crisis in late 2023 and early 2024, when U.S. aid stalled for 9 months. A U.S. election in 2028, or shifting priorities in Europe, could seriously undermine a program that takes 15 years to come to fruition.
So when you put it all together, What does this mean for the listener trying to track this enormous investment? The deal for 100 Rafales is, without a doubt, a powerful political statement about a strong, Western standardized Ukrainian Air Force for the future.
It is a profound signal of a long-term security commitment. But, I mean, the analysis just reveals the serious gap. The sheer scale of the financial obligation, potentially 50 billion euros, combined with unstable funding sources like frozen assets.
And the incredibly slow delivery timeline stretching to 2035.
It all highlights this chasm between the political ambition and the hard fiscal reality on the ground.
Our deep dive confirms this pivot in Europe's strategy, from emptying old stockpiles to funding new industrial production. But when you weigh that against the data, that major Western powers are only committing 0.1% to 0.2% of their wealth annually, it forces a really difficult question.
It really does. That low percentage raises a key question about the primary motivation here. So we'll leave you with this to consider. Does the 50 billion euro lifetime cost of this deal signal an unwavering commitment to victory? Or is it also a very effective, publicly funded way for European defense industries to revitalize themselves under the guise of foreign aid?